Welcome to the third of 3 summary videos on planning and conducting a national level training. This video has to focus on how to adapt the training to specific settings if necessary. The 3 videos were created as part of the Quantifarm project that is funded by the European Union and the Swiss State Secretariat for Education, Research and Innovation. The contents are based on the inputs of a training of trainers that was conducted for national facilitators of the project in 2024 in Portugal. So what will you learn in this video? In part 2 of the video series, you got to know the training guideline as a useful tool to plan and implement a training. You were given a blueprint, including the supporting documents for national level training for your ready perusal. So if you follow the blueprint as per explanations in the supporting document, your training will work out for the settings stated. If you are an experienced trainer, you are of course not bound to implement the training exactly as per blueprint, and you are free to adapt the blueprint to your own preference and capacities in terms of methods. But that's optional. In some cases, however, adapting the blueprint is not only a nice to have option, but it's really a necessity in order to make the training work for your setting. And when I talk of adapting, such adaptations can be either in terms of methods that you use or in terms of content. So rather adapting didactics and methodology, or just the contents, the choice of contents. And this video will get you a glance at such necessary adaptation, and it is meant just as an inspiration for your practice. It will not be, will not go into all depths of the topic. So this is what will happen in this video. If you actually would like to first learn all about the crucial elements of planning and organizing a successful training and the follow-up, please refer to video of part 1 or the part 1 video. And if you would like to understand more about the tactical aspects of a training, so how you come from objectives to the structure of a training and what methods you could use, then have a look at part 2. The links to these videos, part 1 and 2, can be found in the description below. So the question is now, when do we need to adapt the methodology or didactics? And here I'm talking again not of your free will as an experienced facilitator or trainer. I'm really talking about necessities to make the training work again. So in the blueprint we have used groups of up to 25 people. If you have much larger groups, you might have to work with multiple number of groups or make larger groups, or if you have very much smaller groups, you might just have to work in a plenary session, or you could opt to work in a plenary session. So this is an aspect you would have to look at. Does it work out? And in particular, if you have presentations of results, if you have 5 groups or 10 groups, it makes a big difference in terms of timing. So check on that one. The second point I want to mention is the homogeneity of the group or inhomogeneity. Of course, if you have different languages spoken within your training group, you need to have either translation, and you could opt to work in language groups. Then depending on the educational level, here I'm really thinking of people who are not used to writing, either because they just don't do it very often, or maybe even that they cannot write an alphabet. There you would have to look for other ways of collecting points. Don't use card survey, or just have people call in things and write them down yourself, or form groups around capable persons, capable in terms of writing. Yes, so you could group analphabets around such people that can write. So just keep that in mind. If your group is not homogeneous, then that can cause some issues and you would have to adapt for that. There are also special cultural issues that necessitate adaptation, particular if you have settings where women and men wouldn't be brought for interaction together. There you will have to think of how you handle that. Then in cultures where you have quite strong hierarchies that have an influence on whether people dare to talk or not in the presence of their bosses or not. So if that is the case, you might have to separate the same level of hierarchy and put them together in a group. Or also even very important and powerful people could just be invited more for an opening and getting their stand there, and then later not participate in the discussions, but could be informed and have a last word on certain things, so as to avoid that everybody is being silenced by their presence. I have realized that or seen that in Asian cultures a bit. So yeah, depending on where you work, this would be an issue. Timings is important. Work in the usual timings, office timings, if you work with office people. Don't work too much in the evenings with farmers who get up early. You'll have lots of people fighting with sleep. Some regions or countries have siestas, and of course you should respect that and then adopt your blueprints accordingly with the timings. Or also think of other elements, cultural elements that could pose a problem in terms of, for example, if you do evaluation or reflecting on certain experiences that people have made, and it's not very well seen to speak up about mistakes that you have made. If the culture is of one of saving face, that you don't lose face in front of others, of course you cannot have the same methodology than if you are working with people that are very much straightforward and used to talking about mistakes or problems. Use different methodologies. For example, make interactions anonymous or open, and so on. One more factor I would like to state is are the distances. If you have large countries, it's quite hassle-some for people to come together, hassle-some in terms of time. Sometimes even how to get there is not so easy. So think about whether you have to bring everybody together or whether you have the chance to maybe give some inputs online, even have a webinar where you show things on a demonstration form online and people can still be gathered maybe regionally, so as to avoid too much travel. So these are things you would have to then adjust your blueprint to, and that is also not too difficult, but you have to think about doing it. Then the technical contents, when would you have to carefully choose, or where would be issues to choose your technical contents? First thing I can think of is if you have a region with very small, rather small farms, maybe in the mountains, small numbers of animals, you would not probably put a lot of focus on automatized milking or things like that, and vice versa, of course. So that should be adjusted. And if you conduct the same training about the same DIT in different regions, please take that into account. Also, if you make international trainings, maybe work together with trainers from other countries from within the project. Be aware that the levels of professional education in different countries is different, and make sure to adapt the contents and the documentation used to that level of professionality or professional education of the farmers or your clients, if the clients might be also advisory agents. That depends. Just adjust it to that. And then, of course, the technical contents and what you can cover will also depend on whether you have access to farmers with relevant technologies to demonstrate, or whether it is allowed or possible to make farm visits and so on. And depending on that, you might have to choose your focus contents differently. And I'm sure there will be other moments of adaptation of technical contents. My experience is that trainers are often quite good in adopting the technical contents, but they often forget a bit the methodological contents. So I leave it up to you, and I'll just invite you to think yourself about how you need to adapt your blueprints to your specific situation. Just go through the blueprint and think of the specific situation you will give the training in, and check on whether there is necessity to change. Thank you very much for your attention. If you have questions in terms of adapting trainings, don't hesitate to contact us. The contacts are given on this slide. Thank you very much for your attention, and goodbye.